use this platform, but they're not the only ones. Shri and others use it as well. So it's become a popular platform. So let's go and do it. Yes, folks, we got the online dinner party. That's what we're calling the Wednesday night edition. And I've got Shawn J, who is a master magician, illusionist, and all of that wonderful stuff. I've had the pleasure of meeting Shawn when he was doing Centerfest, and Centerfest will unfortunately be a virtual reality this time around. So I don't know whether Shawn will get that invite, but I'm sure he probably will because they just love him there around Durham and things of that nature. So I'm hoping he gets the invite because he always gets the crowd involved, and even though there won't be a crowd this time around, he'll get the folks here involved. So I'm rooting for Shawn to be involved in some way or another. So Shawn, just tell the listeners that don't know you how you got involved in magic and how you came about this whole magical life, because like I said, I don't even know that story about how you got involved in this whole thing.
Good question. So I've been performing since I was 12 years old. So that means I've been doing magic now for about 2 years. No, I'm just kidding. I've actually been doing this for 17 years. So I really did start when I was 12. I know I look very young, 29 actually. And 17 years ago, I got the spark. I got the idea that I wanted to share wonder and astonishment with people, just like it was to me when I saw a street performer. That was actually my first experience when I was in New York City, visiting as a young child. And I just loved that feeling, that raw connection. There was no curtain to hide behind. It was just somebody right there in the middle of the street. It was pretty amazing. So that left an impression on me.
And where are you originally from? Because like I said, you got the taste when you were in New York. So a lot of people I know get that flavor when they go to the big cities like New York and things of that nature. But where are you originally from? Because I think that you're originally from the South, if I remember correctly.
No, I'm actually originally from New York.
Okay.
Originally from New York. But been living here for at least half of my life. I've been down south for maybe 2/3 of my life. So I don't consider myself, so I don't sound like I'm from New York usually. I'm just kind of balanced. Now I'm like Midwest. Now I sound like I'm from the Midwest.
Sound like in the Midwest and you actually spent time in the South in New York, so you just went for that middle of the ground kind of flavor. So not necessarily from the Milwaukee, Chicago area. I actually spent some time there because I went to school in Marquette, which is in Milwaukee. So definitely know about that Midwest flavor. But yes, you definitely do not have the New York style to you or anything of that nature. And you seem to identify a lot with the kids when you perform, but also you bring in the adults. So like I said, everybody seems to enjoy your personality and the way that you bring them in.
Well, I think half of it is the introduction that I get from you every time. I mean, with that radio voice, I mean, what better could set the stage for a great performance than Marc Lee, you know?
Yeah, you do a great job. You do a great job just without me and everything. Because like I said, you just pull the crowd in. You find ways to get them involved. Who were some of the magicians that really inspired you when you were coming up? I mean, I know everybody knows the big names like David Copperfield now, and of course Blaine, and then of course everybody knows the master of illusion, Houdini, and things of that nature. But who were some of the ones that inspired you when you were growing up?
Well, I had an interesting way that I learned magic. For all of the younger people watching this broadcast, I actually started learning at the local libraries. So there are these things, I don't know if you've heard of them, but like it has a front and a back, and then there's like these paper pages in there, and then I would open it, and it's actually called a book.
Wow.
And yeah, I'm that old, right? Like I actually learned from books. I'm probably like the last of the millennials that actually learn something from a book, and I'm proud to say it because books are really important. You know, it's high touch. It's not technology. Sometimes we can get overwhelmed with all this technology. And what I would do when I was 12 years old, I would sit in between the aisles, and I would just read, and I would read for many, many, many hours. And some of the magicians that I came across that inspired me, to answer your question, were Houdini, because Houdini was somebody that would come up in the magic books. There's other magicians that I'll mention that you may or may not know of, but a big inspiration for me is a guy named Jeff McBride. Jeff has a real magic school in Las Vegas. It's called the Magic and Mystery School. And so when I was 13, I actually went out there to study with some of the best magicians in the world. And then from there, I got exposed to all other types of other magicians that I never even heard of. There's a lot of magic in Las Vegas, and there's a lot of magic all over the world, actually. And what I find interesting is modern day magic entertainment actually stems from the ancient shaman of way, way, way long time ago. You know, and each country, each part of the world has its own version of a shaman. And they would be well versed in herbs and herbology, mythology, storytelling, and they would use all these disciplines to create an act of healing on a person. So what I'm doing is a very old art form, so it takes inspiration from a lot of long time.
Now, the other thing that I know that a lot of times magicians are told not to do is to reveal the secrets of their trade. So are you one of those that follows that practice as well? Because I know a lot of times folks will be like, the one thing a magician should never do is reveal his secrets. And I know that, you know, there are certain tricks that everybody seems to know, but they may know it as well as you do, or they don't. But I know a lot of folks will pull the rabbit out of the hat or do the things with the pigeons and, of course, the knee tricks. So there are various tricks that seem to be the common tricks that I guess are in every magic book, but then there are others that to this day, I don't know how they've done it. Like a couple of Houdini's escapes and a couple of the things that Blaine has done and some of the others. I'm sitting there going like, wait a minute, you just made a whole building disappear. How did you do that? I know,
right? I know, I get it. I'm not a big proponent of revealing secrets. I don't just go out there and reveal secrets. You know, if I happen to meet another magician and I see that he or she is serious about the art and craft and that they know what they're talking about, then maybe we'll trade secrets. But I don't just. I mean, it's kind of like you go watch a movie, you go watch the latest Star Wars franchise or whatever, and then they have it split screen with all the green screen and the wires pulling the ships and stuff, and you're watching both at the same time. It just kind of spoils the whole fantasy of it all. So. It's also kind of like The Wizard of Oz. When I was little, that was actually one of my favorite movies, was The Wizard of Oz. I played that tape so many times, and it's like when you pull back the curtain and you see it's just a regular guy there with all these gears turning to create the magic on the outside. It's the same kind of thing. So magic is shrouded in secrecy just because it's kind of like once the secrets are there, it ruins the fun. So it's magic is an art form of fun, and we're creating an optical illusion. Basically, we're creating an alternate reality by the things that we say, the things that we do, the actions that we take, and that we take people into that reality for entertainment purposes, and we have some fun.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, get that kind of flavor and things of that nature. Do you think that magic is as popular as it used to be? Because like I said, I know when I was growing up, and I'll date myself, you said that you're a millennial and things of that nature. Well, I'm double that age. I'm 58 and try not to look at it, but definitely do you find that, and I remember, like I said, growing up, and I would try maybe a trick or two, but didn't have the success that you did. So that's why I didn't become a magician, but definitely tried maybe one or two tricks. And it definitely seemed like it was very popular, say in the 60s and the 70s. But, you know, kids now, they've got the wonders of technology. They've got all those other things that may be pulling them away from magic. But how do you think kids react to magic? And do you think it's as popular as it used to be?
I think it's actually more popular than it used to be, because of wonderful shows on TV like America's Got Talent, Penn and Teller's Fool Us, and a show that I'm on this summer called Masters of Illusion on the CW network. They're all big proponents of magic, and a lot of people watch those shows. So I don't know. I see advertisements on TV that incorporate magic or magicians or some kind of theme around magic. I think it's pretty popular right now, and I think on social media especially, the young people are into it more than the past. It's a totally different way of sharing and doing magic. We have this little frame that we're doing magic for, whereas, you know, if people go out and do a live show, it's a whole world that you have to interact with, like what you saw me do in the past at Centerfest. Back when the time that you were growing up, there was magicians like Doug Henning, right. You know, was really popular, and he had his own style. He was kind of like meditating and doing, you know, all this groovy stuff, and he actually inspired people like David Copperfield, and it was because of Doug Henning that David Copperfield wanted to do his specials and so on and so forth. So it goes back a ways. It was popular then, but I think it's also popular now.
Well, do you think that, how do you think it will come with this age of COVID? Do you think that we will have magic back in the traditional way of doing magic shows, or do you think that it's going to change where a lot more of it's going to become virtual? Because I know even in the music industry and Broadway, I know Broadway has talked about not having any Broadway shows for the rest of this year, and they're kind of up in limbo for 2021, and then same with music, and I imagine the same with magic. So where are you thinking magic is going to go with what we're going through in the world?
I mean, for now, it's definitely virtual is where it is until CDC restrictions and things allow for safe public gatherings. So until then, what I've done is, where I am right now is my studio that I've created, and the space, which I should be broadcasting to you pretty clear. You should see me pretty clearly, right?
Yes, I do.
Good. And this is how I now service my clients, and people hire me for like virtual happy hour, online meetings with their company, because I mean, let's face it, we're doing so many of these meetings now, and just staring at a screen all day gets kind of boring, and it's very easy to just go even check your Facebook or complete that Amazon order while you're in the middle of a business call and nobody knows. And people are doing this just because the format's pretty boring most of the time. So what I do is I get in there and I shake things up, and I brighten up the energy a little bit, and now people are paying attention, and increases the interaction between the guests, and it also increases their retention, because people, if they're focused on this impossible thing that's happening, they're more apt to be zoomed in on the meeting rather than zoomed out. Let's just put it that way.
No, I agree. And that just happened because I know I've worked with a testing company, a very popular one here in North Carolina, among other places I've worked, because of course I've worked at ATI and a number of other places. But there's a popular testing company, Measurement, and I've worked for them. And you're right, we've done a lot. Well, right now we're not doing much of anything, but we have done in some of the time remote scoring, as opposed to being in the building with other folks that are doing testing, team leaders and other things of that nature. And you're right, sometimes if you're at home, the powers that be don't know what you're doing, so you might be cooking, you might be reading a book or doing various other things that aren't necessarily what you're supposed to be concentrating on, and because it's a Zoom meeting, they can't really find out. So a lot of times they are not as apt to, I mean, they have timekeeping in other ways. So I mean, I'm sure if you zoom out too long, then they'll be like, give you a little tap, a computer tap, and be like, hey, wait a minute, what are you doing? You're not necessarily doing what we want you to do.
Right. I mean, people aren't supposed to be on technology for such a long period or a clip at a time anyway. It's just we're kind of pushed into that room right now. So I guess what I do helps break up the monotony, and at least if they're going to be there in that space, it'll make it a lot more exciting than it normally is. And also too, like when I was previously speaking, like motivational speaking for live in-person audiences, these conferences typically have a theme online that they try to follow. And what I do is I weave the theme of the event into the magic, into the presentation, so people are still can have an educational event like they normally do, but it's a much more fun event, rather than somebody just pointing to a slideshow or doing a screen share and saying, okay, just reading the points. Much more exciting.
Yeah, definitely. Sounds like a lot more excitement going on that way and things of that nature. I'm going to see if we can't get Camille to join us. She's a talented person and everything. But she was eating earlier, so we were not wanting to have that go on screen. But we're going to pull Camille in. There's Camille. She's still over there eating. How's it going, Camille?
I just have to show you guys, I absolutely I'm like obsessed with cucumber salad. So I was eating my breakfast today.
Right on.
And Shawn, what's what you got? So definitely, Camille, glad to have you on and everything. Tell folks, including Shawn, about what you do, because you're involved in everything. But I know you as a media person, actress, and just very talented young lady. I think you fall in that millennial category as well, or at least very close to it. I lose track of the different
You're not
generations.
aging me. I'm not aging myself out of work. No, I'm not a millennium. I'm in the X, Z. No, I'm kidding. I don't know. Yeah, so like you mentioned, I'm an actress. I'm a SAG union actress. I've been in the entertainment industry pretty much the same time as Shawn, as far as like being 11 or 12. My mom, actually, funny enough, she started. Well, technically, my dad started in the film industry, but my mom, she would do these like different promotional events for the local TV station when we lived in Holland, and that's kind of what got me, I guess, bit the bug, or the bug bit me. I don't know, but anyway, I love working in entertainment. I think it's fun because as an adult, even you don't get to do a lot of magic unless you're a magician like Shawn. So it's kind of a fun way to just be able to do all the different careers you can't really do in a lifetime. I've played a doctor, a lawyer, a cheerleader, software engineer, which was really funny because I know nothing about software or engineering for that matter. I was a sociology major, so it's a lot of fun. I think more people need to venture into
So,
it. It's fun.
so what was the role that you enjoyed the most of all the roles that you had? Because you had a number of roles during that time. So, what was the role that you think you enjoyed the most?
It's funny because with my father being in the film industry as well, it's one of those sayings like it's not about the roles you've had, it's about the next role. Because nobody cares what you've done in the past. People care about what you're doing next, type of a thing. But and it's not even that big of a role. It was an extras part, but because of the people I worked with, it was so much fun. And we're still friends to this day. And that was working on Mary Jane's Last Dance, which they changed the name to My New Best Friend. Meredith Monroe was in it. Tay Diggs was in it. Rachel True, Dominique Swain. Trying to remember everybody who was in it. There's a lot of people in it. It was a lot of fun because we were all like teenagers pretending to party at parties, and it was a lot of fun. It was filmed down in UNC Wilmington and Charleston as well, so you got to see really beautiful scenery. And I made friends with my favorite twins, Gary and Larry, and Nicole, and
What a great name for twins, Gary and
right.
Larry.
And they're from Goldsboro, North Carolina, so they're doing big things in LA. They're actually getting ready to finish their second documentary about working 9 to 5, about the film 9 to 5. So I absolutely adore them. And then my good friend Vera, she was Miss North Carolina, and I met her there. So it's been.
Wait a minute, back up. You said they're doing something related to 9 to 5. That movie was out there a long time ago. So we get ready to have a remake of some sort of 9 to 5, the
No,
classic Lily Tomlin.
it's not a remake. It's a documentary about the making of and how they took it from not only a song, movie, but also the Broadway play. So there's actors that are from the Broadway musical as well as Lily Tomlin, Jane Fonda. All of them also give interviews and talk about the making of. So it's really exciting. I love being able to see like some of the behind the scenes stuff that they're doing with it and who they interviewed. And can't think of her name, but
Yeah,
she
the
was in
scary thing is that a lot of times the issues that they were talking about in that movie are still relevant because I mean they were talking about sexism and things of that nature on the corporate level, and a lot of those things are still happening.
Yeah, that's one of the things I would even say part of the pandemic is a big issue for women, is just being able to balance work, still having to be a mother, and now also being a teacher. There's just a lot on the plate. And I can't even imagine for those moms that are also teachers who are now responsible for their students as well as their kids, and still all of the work that teaching involves, all the scheduling and classes. My hat goes out to them. They really should be paid double, maybe triple what they normally get paid now.
Because I can't remember, Shawn, are you a parent as well or not? Because I can't remember whether you've gotten into the whole parenting concept or you're just too busy doing things with the career. Because like Camille is actually a parent, but she is also dealing with her mom, who is a tremendously great artist. So she has all kinds of folks in her family. So Olivia Gatewood is just an amazing artist here in the area. So she learned the whole entertainment field at a very young age. Because I don't even know when your mom started painting, but it had to have been at a late, maybe when she was very young.
She went to college for it. So yeah, it's been, but like my grandfather was an artist and a carpenter. So it was like a thing since childhood. She's been painting, drawing. and so on. So I don't know when she wasn't an artist. Although the stunt part was new because she didn't do that until we moved to America about 89, 90. And yeah, that was new because she did Taekwondo competitions while we were in Europe and won all these different awards, mainly against men. And she's like 5'4" and would be against like 6 feet tall men and bring them down to the floor. I mean, I never got in trouble because I saw that as a very young age. Like, nope, my mom can cut me down like a tree because I've seen her do it. But so even being on set with her as a kid, seeing her doing stunts, seeing her get injured, I knew I wanted to either be a makeup artist or an actor. And so I was lucky enough to be able to pursue both of those.
Because I had the privilege of living in Turkey when my dad was stationed there, and I was literally, I think it was like maybe a couple of weeks after I was born that I moved there and was there till like about 2 or 3. Have no memories of it. But how long were you in Holland, and how long were you there? How much of your life was in Holland?
Okay, so I was born here in America in Louisiana on an Air Force base, and we moved to Europe like I was a toddler. So I don't have any memories, obviously, from when we lived here before. So all my memories of childhood are in Europe for the most part. I didn't move to America till I was about. You're not aging me. I see what you try to do there, but I was much older by the time we moved to America. I'm 44. I don't care. I was about 13, I would say, when we moved to America. I spent 3 to 4 years at each country. Yeah.
Wow, so you've done a lot, and like I said, had a tremendous career in that regards. Shawn, we do have listeners from around the country and places of and around the world. So, what are some of the places that you have traveled to go to do your magic? Because actually, Ankit, one of our producers, is out of India. I know that we have a young lady out of South Africa that does a music program. We've got a gentleman out of Canada who's originally from Russia, and those are just some of the folks. There's another guy that's out of the UK that pops in regularly and everything. But just in terms of your magic, have you had the privilege? I know you've traveled around the country, but have you had the privilege yet of taking your magic out of the country?
Never, actually. Never had the privilege, and now I guess isn't the time to do it. But hopefully, maybe in the future, I would love to. So yeah, I've just been in the U.S. so far.
And what's the best trip or the best show that you've had in the U.S.? You mentioned Vegas, you mentioned being from New York, but what was the show that you enjoyed the most in terms of your magical career?
Just the best show I've done, the most fun show I've done, the most memorable.
The most fun show you've done, and the best. Let's go for both of them. Okay,
what first category was?
The most fun.
The most fun show I've ever done was probably, I would say the most satisfying show I've ever done was where I had a blind person in the audience, and I actually got him up on stage to help me, and I had to think very quickly of how I can, like, I didn't quite realize it until, I kind of pieced it together when he was on his way, and I was like, oh, okay, this is going to be challenging, but it was very satisfying because I was able to do something that was very high touch and tactile. So to have this person who couldn't see right next to me, but then was experiencing magic in his own mind, was very satisfying, and it was fun to see. His family was just overjoyed because their expectations were that maybe, I don't know, I was going to make fun of him or it just wasn't going to work or something. But no, I made him feel welcome, and we worked it out. And the fact that he got what was going on because he was feeling, one object become 2 objects in his hand kind of thing, and then he was getting it, was just that was real magic to me.
Wow.
That was real magic. And
so you said that was the most fun or the best? So what was the best one?
The best one I've ever done was I have a few greatest hits. I've done I'd say the best so far is just performing on national television for millions of people in front of a live studio audience. That's probably the best show I've done so far. Wow. And that's happened.
And which show was that? Was that one of the magical showcase shows where there were a lot of different kind of magicians, or was it something that you were focused on solely?
This is Masters of Illusion on the CW network.
Okay.
Channel
Cool.
22 for North Carolina viewers, but all over the country. That each state has its own channel for that.
Okay.
So yeah, that was really fantastic. I was on season 6. I'm appearing now in season 7, and that was filmed in January, right before everything happened. So we could actually touch people and be next.
Actually touch people and actually make that connection, which you can't do now, unfortunately. So that is a shame. How are you dealing with it as an actress, the whole COVID situation and things of that nature, Camille? So how are you dealing with it? And I know you got your own show that you'll be doing later on this afternoon or evening. So tell folks about that as well. But how are you coping with COVID, and how are you making it work in this age that we're in?
Well, like, to back up a little, I had auditioned to be in a movie and was pretty much given the role. Like, he pretty much said, pick a part and it's yours. And so I picked a part. I was completely in love with this part, read the book, read the script, got offered the opportunity. The next day, the pandemic is in North Carolina. Everything's shutting down. I think that was like March 9th, and then March 11th. It was pretty much the end of it. So it was interesting because I was doing a radio show already, kind of about the same thing. I was doing the E-Spot with Camille on a radio show, and it was one of those things where I kept asking to get more time, and because like a lot of my West Coast people, they were just like, I'm not waking up at 5 o'clock in the morning to talk about work. It's not going to happen, type of thing. And so it just, like, one of the publicists reached out to me from one of the last actors I had interviewed on my radio show, Robert Richard's publicist reached out to me and asked me if I knew of any podcasts that were interviewing, because they had canceled all in-studio interviews. And I was like, my head just started spinning, and I was like, I can do this all from home, because if it's all going to be Zooms or platforms like StreamYard, might as well just figure out a way to do it myself, because what else am I going to do? And my husband works for UPS, so his life hasn't changed at all. He's been working this entire time, and I knew that. Exactly. It's like Christmas, but without a helper. And so I just wanted to be able to have some way to still communicate with people, and not just like, yeah, today I Netflixed and chilled again, or I learned a new pandemic hobby. You know, I wanted to have more for us to be able to converse about as well, because I'm an extrovert. So he would come home and I would just be like, blah, 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 blah. Like, I remembered from when our daughter was first born. That's what I was like when I was on bed rest and so on. So yeah, this has been awesome. I've been able to interview so many great people, Miss USA, producers, directors, actors from All American, speaking of CW. And I will have my 100th episode August 5th. So it's been great. Like, I've been really lucky that a lot of people have said yes to me. I haven't had a magician on yet. So
now you know.
I think I know somebody now.
You know the best.
Yeah. But it's funny. I've been, I was curious because, of course, being somebody that now interviews, I was like sitting over here like, oh, I want to ask my question, but I'm not supposed to because it's.
No, I'm perfectly fine with that. I'm good with folks, including my guests, asking questions of each other. So I'm not your typical interviewer. So go for it, Camille.
I'm like curious by nature. And two questions I had was like, when you first performed on such a large audience, what was the adrenaline like for that? Were you scared, nervous, and so on? And then my second question is, do you do any live streaming of your magic tricks or anything? Because I've seen some magicians will do some of these live things and it's trippy. So I'm curious. Those are the two things that I was like, oh, I wonder. So
okay. So your first question about the adrenaline. Mm-hmm. And the answer is yes, lots of it. And the follow-up to that is I've had to practice over many, many years, and I'm sure you can relate as an actress, that when you're doing anything new, or maybe it doesn't bother you as much as an extrovert, but I know as a magician, a lot of magicians, a lot of performers, they get this rush before they go on stage. So for me, the first time going on Masters of Illusion, going out on the stage, I felt like my heart was going to pop out of my chest, basically. Like literally, like I could like provide a backbeat for like a rap album with my heartbeat. It was that intense. Yeah. And so when I get out there, it was even more interesting because then they shoot these things from multiple angles. So there's like all these cameras silently orbiting about you. And as a magician seeing all this, it's like, oh, I hope I get the angles right. And so I just had to like lock in and pretend I was looking at the audience and just press play and go through my thing. So yeah, it's a lot of adrenaline. It was a lot of fun though, because a big secret tip that I use that's a friend. Yeah, and this is for you. You could use this as an actress. A lot of people can do this. So there's the show, but then there's the pre-show and the after show. And lots of times people act different before and after. So for me, when I was performing for the audience, like I wouldn't just walk out on the stage and start go. I'd walk out, kind of get my stuff set, and then I'd have to like talk with a couple other production managers, and then they would kind of communicate to the audience, and then they would say 3, 2, 1, go. So what I like to do is I like to talk to the audience on a personal level, like just check in with everybody before I even start a show. So to let them know that I'm a human too, and that we can actually connect. Because when they weren't officially rolling, I was, hey, how's it going? I know, sympathizing with them. I know you've been sitting here all day. I'm going to try to make it as fun as I can for you. So just kind of hang tight. And I was just real casual with them. So by the time they said rolling, I had the audience right in the palm of my hand. They were very good to me as much as I was good to them.
What is like I'm sorry, here I go again.
No, go ahead, Camille.
Okay.
I perfectly
How
found
long
that.
is the filming for, I guess for your segment, like how long would the audience be sitting there for? I've gone to Jay Leno and that was kind of like torture, sitting there for so long.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
curious what was it like for you?
It's an entire day from morning till late night. But I'm not on.
Tickets are free. No, I'm kidding.
I'm not on that long.
Right. But I mean for the audience, yeah.
But the extras and the audience, they're there for a long time, and I learned that if I can, I'd like to try to go earlier in the day than later in the day, because it's the same people, and they start at like 8, 9 in the morning, and they stop at like 9, 10 at night. So the first season I was with them, I went on second to last. And so I'm coming from East Coast time. So it was like midnight to 1 a.m. for me. And then I had to do my act and pretend like I didn't have a headache and pretend like I wasn't so tired, like I was going to pass out, and pretend that I was happy. So that's tough to do, but I did it. I did do it. To answer your second question about live streaming, so I did something on Instagram. Every once in a while, I'll hop on Instagram as just a service to my fans and followers, and I am on Instagram at Shawn J Magic, like it says in my name down there. Shawn J, just Magic. Okay. But what I've been doing a lot of now is I'm kind of well versed with Zoom and other technologies. So like I was telling Marc, like a company will have me come in for virtual happy hour, and so it will be a live interactive performance for them, where I can talk to them just like I'm talking to you, Camille, and we're conversing in real time. So that's how I'm using the live stream technology.
Do you ever find people that always, because you're a magician, they always want to just put you on the spot and have you do a trick, even though you're not wanting to do it, and you're just like ready to go out with a restaurant dinner or just having a good old time, but they know that Shawn J is a magician, so they just want you to pull a trick out of nowhere?
The people that know me, yes, the people that know me, and then they take full advantage of the fact that I'm an entertainer. And like when I used to do more in public, yeah, I mean, people would know me and they'd say, "Oh, that's Shawn, and can you show my kids some magic? Can you show my boss is with me, can you impress my boss?" kind of thing. So yeah, but when I jump on a call or something like this, I'm fully prepared, because I know that's what I do. It's what I do. It's my life. Somebody's got to do it.
Oh, well,
cool.
that just begs.
Well, we're waiting to see at least some of Shawn's magic tricks, so hopefully Shawn will delight us with something. Camille's getting all excited, so I know that I am as well. I do have a question, because I'm just going to mess with some of our fans that are politically oriented. Do you think you can make some of the politicians disappear? Because I'm getting tired of them. Because can we make them disappear? Shawn's like, I'm not touching that one.
I don't touch that topic. I remain very political with my responses. I'm not here to communicate any of those opinions. I'm trying to relieve the stress that people are having from all of the political problems right now. That's what I do, is essentially a form of stress relief. So whatever I can do to relieve that, or to take people's minds off that, is important for me. So that's my answer to that. I can't make any people in particular disappear, but I can perhaps make the stress go away, and I can perhaps make people look at things in a different way, and perhaps open their mind a little bit to just remember that anything is possible. And that's my job as a magician, to remind people that anything is possible. Things are subject to change at a moment's notice.
Oh yes, definitely. Cool. Well, like I said, I know Camille's getting all excited. She's like, I'm ready for some Shawn magic.
Well, I mean, I think everybody becomes a kid around magic shows, right? Like my daughter,
Generally speaking,
we went to go see, or I went to go see without her. The Illusionist, I think is the name. And I got like a triangle magic kit for her, and she had all these fun magic kits, and she was like obsessed with it for a while. And so like we would watch America's Got Talent back in the day.
Sure.
That was the part we would just DVR and fast forward to the magic tricks part. So we're big magic fans over here. You did not tell me I was going to be on with a magician, so this is a double
surprise.
Yeah. And I don't think I ever answered about my show part as well with
Go for it.
Oh, I did actually. Now that I'm thinking back, I did.
You didn't really touch on the radio podcast. You alluded to some of it, but you didn't go into full detail. So you can go into more details before we get to Shawn's magic.
So the e-spot is exactly that. It's the entertainment spot. I live stream it on Facebook as well as YouTube. And I'm in the process now of making it a podcast through Anchor. So that's going to be fun. And I'm really enjoying it. I'm having a lot of fun. I curious by nature, obviously. That's why I keep interjecting and asking questions. Thank you, Marc, for letting me do that. And I'm excited about this. This is a lot of fun. I'm glad you're doing this. Like you mentioned, it's a nice stress release to get away from hearing news or politics or whatever. It's like a nice escape to just talk amongst other entertainers and find out what they're doing during all of this to stay sane and keep the creativity going.
Agreed 100%.
Yes.
Sanity is important in life. That's worth a lot. You know, if you don't have your sanity, and not much follows after that. So very important.
Yep, totally agree.
Mental health and physical health.
Yep, and a lot of folks are actually needing that mental health. I know that they're saying that even with what's going on in the world, a lot of people are finding their mental health at a very stressful level. I mean, there's a lot of folks that are in very sad places. I know we've had a couple of shows that have dealt with the fact that around the world, there are a lot of our teenagers that are actually taking their lives or doing other things that are going on because of all the pressures that are happening in the world. So definitely anything we can do to alleviate that and make them think more pleasant thoughts is a wonderful thing.
I tell people all the time, I think now is the best time for people to understand how important entertainment and the arts are. Absolutely. People don't get it. And I've told so many people, what would 9-to-5 office workers do without actors and actresses that they could tune in and watch TV after work? What if that just all went away and they just went from work to home, and then they had to make dinner or whatever, eat and go to sleep, and there was no fun, and then go back to work again? That would get pretty old after a while. No, I mean, just that one thing right there, I mean, just says how important entertainment is.
And that's the one thing I keep bringing up to a lot of the different people I have on my show, as well as that, like, during this time, what is inspiring you? Are you getting a lot of inspiration from what's going on? Because, I mean, art has a way of sharing the world in a way of what's going on, historical or social or whatever, in a way that makes it easier for people to understand what's going on. Like, we could make everyone feel better about this pandemic by the way that artists portray it, you know, the way they sing about it or talk about it, or the different movies and poems, or even art for that matter, that are going to be produced during this time. I'm kind of excited to see the change that may happen, because maybe people will be more socially conscious about the kind of products they put out there, and not just so mindless about partying or drug use or whatever it may be, because like, we can't do that now. We can't go to parties. We can't turn up or whatever it may be. I mean, you can in your home, but, you know, like, now's a good time to kind of share things that can bridge us back together and bond us. And like you mentioned, art has that potential, and entertainers do that, and they need to stop taking it out of the budget. I'm so sad hearing about schools cutting art programs, because a lot of kids, that's their only way, is through school to find out about band instruments. That's like so many of the musicians I've interviewed started with band or church bands, or even with artists that started with their school. And so if we take that out of the school, there's so many more artists that we may never have, and that's sad.
Yeah, because one thing I would add to that is that it seems that people forget how important art is to developing that concept of critical thinking. Because I don't care whether you're a actress or a magician or a musician or an artist like your mom, Olivia, is, and everything, or whatever the art form is, that you have to have that critical thinking, and that's something that you can carry on to other fields. So even if you don't become an artist or an entertainer or a media person, there's still those skill sets that you need in other careers that art actually helps us learn at a very early age. And I think that a lot of times the powers that be, whether it's in the school system, the school boards, or whatever, they don't always understand that, or they don't always seem to understand it. So I definitely agree that art is just very important to the way that we develop as human beings. So I know I had a friend of mine, Zach, who's a funk musician on, and they were talking about how, no matter what's going on in the world, no matter what there may be the divide, maybe you're Christian or Muslim, you might be white or black, you might be male or female, or no matter what the divisions are, oftentimes if you turn on music, or even if you do magic, all of that goes out the window, because nobody could care less. They're just ready to get their music on, they're ready to get their beat on, and they're ready to just enjoy what's going on. So all of those divisions seem to be evaporated when the entertainer comes in the room, and a lot of times they find out that they have more in common than they have opposed to each other.
So true, so true. Magic, art, performance, entertainment, it brings people together. It erases the fake stuff that we've created to make all these social constructs, which are dividing people. And it's just such a waste of time, and it doesn't accomplish anything. And like you said, when people collectively view a piece of art or a piece of music or a piece of performance art, everybody's sharing that common experience, and nothing else matters except for just marveling at this experience. People need more of that.
Yep, I definitely agree with you. And I'm waiting for you to give me some magic, because I'm going to keep pressing you until we get the magic.
I'm going a magic trick.
I'm going to bring it if you're ready. If you can.
We're ready.
Okay. Now I feel I'm kind of squeezed in here. Can you see where my arm's going out here, or am I just in this tight frame here?
You're in the middle space, but I can actually disappear backstage. So, and actually I can make.
Actually, I want to make sure that you guys are in there so I can see with you.
You're in the middle then.
You can see, good. You should be able to see. Just want to make sure I'm centered here. There. Okay. So I've been creating magic. I've been thinking about type of magic that I'm doing, and I thought something very timely would be to talk about health and the importance of staying well protected when you go out in public. This is, of course, a bandana that I just magically made appear from nothingness. And what's also very important is that we wash our hands. Here we go.
Yeah, there we go. Okay.
There we go. Is that we wash our hands, and that we also use things like hand sanitizer, which I'm going to, should be right here. There we go. Right? You should be able to see everything here. I'm just going to use some right now just to make sure that my hands are clean. This is going to be the world's cleanest magic performance right here, because I also have some gloves as well, which are going to be used. Here we are. That's okay. Here we are. Yeah, right over here. Here's another one. There we are. Now we're safe. Now we're clean. Now we're ready to go. Now, what better way? I'm going to roll up my sleeves for this. A little bit closer. Check it out. Check it out. Check it out. Now, what's the better form of hand sanitizer? I like to say it's probably mom's friend, Clorox wipes are probably the best. And I think that's what I recommend, the best way to stay clean and stay healthy during the age of COVID. Thank you.
Yeah.
Loved it.
Like, I don't know if I'm more impressed with the magic trick or that you found Clorox wipes, because no one can get Clorox wipes.
I've had these for a while.
Okay.
Yeah, I was wondering where you got them too, because I was wondering. I was impressed that he found the Clorox wipes. I mean, next thing I know, he's gonna make that tissues that everybody was going to the store trying to find appear as well, and then I'm really gonna be impressed because everybody was rushing to find those bathroom tissues. So he must have some magic supply somewhere.
I have magic supplies everywhere. Now, Camille,
Yes.
this is where I'm going to make it a little interactive. Okay. I have something. I'm just going to leave it here on the table. I'm actually going to put it so we both can be both my little prediction here. There we go, which you can see.
Yep.
And me at the same time. Okay, now, Camille, what we're going to do is I want you to keep your eye on that. I'm actually going to write something down on this card that's inside of here. Now, we did not set this up ahead of time. This is very important that we tell the audience.
No.
We did not. Okay, you didn't even know I was going to be on this.
I didn't know you were a magician until I got on air with you. So yeah, no idea. Or well, he was interviewing you.
My prediction, which I'm going to place inside. Nothing else in there.
No.
It's empty.
Solid.
Totally empty. Place it right over there. Now, Camille, like I said, we did not set this up before. I want you to think of a happy memory in your life. Okay, a memory that makes you happy, a memory that brings back happy thoughts. Do you have that in your mind?
I do.
You do. Okay, and I want you to think of a person in that memory. Name of a person that brings you happy thoughts.
Okay.
Now, I know we talked about your mom, and I don't know, I hope you didn't say her name. If you said her name, I want you to think of somebody.
I did say her name earlier.
Okay, so think of somebody else if you were thinking of your
who
mom.
I was thinking of anyway. I love you, Mom, but I just wasn't thinking of you in this moment.
Okay. Good. Smooth that over. Good. Okay. So do you have a name of someone?
I do. Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. I'm going to snap my fingers. And when I do, I want you just to call out the name and see the letters of that name right there in front of you. 1, 2, 3, go. Vanessa. And how do you know Vanessa?
She's my daughter.
Oh, she's your daughter. Perfect. And how old is she?
12.
She's 12 years old. Mm-hmm. And is she also an actress?
She is.
Oh, see, I had a feeling that she shared the same talents that Mom had.
Yeah,
Arts run in your family. And you said Vanessa because she's somebody that you probably love and trust. You have very fond memories. What was the memory, by the way? I'm just curious.
We went to Universal Studios with my dad, and that was a place that as a kid I used to go to a lot. So it was really fun showing her something I did as a kid, which is very rare. So
Vanessa and Universal Studios. Well, before this started, I had a feeling, I was thinking about this the entire time, and I wrote it down. I scribbled it really fast because sometimes I just get these impressions and I write them down. And this has been sitting inside of the envelope the entire time. I want you to check this out. I wrote a name down. Tell me, what does that look like? Yeah.
Wow.
That is so cool because I was like, oh crap, I wonder if he's going to pull her first name because it's her middle name. But yeah, that's really cool.
That was very good.
Crazy. I don't normally say her name very often on stuff like this, so that's cool. Magic, and you're like psychic. I can read brains.
I have ESPN.
You have ESPN. Don't tell Camille that because Camille is also a big sports fan, so she might have ESPN as well.
Okay.
A little bit sports fan.
I used to be a big fan. Now I'm kind of like, if it's not on Disney Plus, I have no idea what it is. Wow, that was really cool.
Thank you. Do we have time for one more?
Yes, we have time for one more for sure.
Okay. I'll show you one more thing, and this is going to be. Is it okay if I have the lovely assistance of Camille for this?
Yes, please.
I'm putting it on my resume, so go ahead.
All right, Camille. Well, we're going to do this together. We're going to, and if this works, you will get a souvenir to keep. Okay. Now, Camille, you noticed that these all were different cards, correct?
Yes, I did.
They're not all like the Ace of Spades. That's very important to see. Now, Camille, as I flip through the deck like this, you're just going to say stop, okay?
Okay.
Ready, set. Well, no, it's whenever you want. Okay, no, I tricked you.
All right. Stop.
There. Now, do you want this one, the 10 of clubs, or do you want this one over here? Or you want me to do it again? Your choice.
10 of clubs is fine.
10 of clubs, okay. I'm going to put the rest of the cards over here, and we're just going to use the 10 of clubs, the one card that you stopped me at. And since you're not here, Camille, I'm going to write your name on this card. C-I-L-E. Right?
2 L's, but yeah, good enough.
There, I snuck a second one in there. See that? There it is.
Yeah.
Okay. And how do you say your last name? Cower?
Cower.
Oh,
Rhymes with shower. Or flower.
okay. Here we go. So Camille Cower. And we're also going to put today's date. Today is the 29th, correct?
Sounds
Okay.
right to me.
7/29/2020. We're going to try this, Camille. We're going to try to travel in time. And this is going to be our time traveler, the 10 of clubs. I don't know if you've ever traveled in time before. I mean, we're traveling forwards in time right now, right?
Only in the movies.
But of course, if we go back to the future, it's the movie reference, that's actually going back in time. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take your 10 of clubs right here. We're going to go forwards in time. Just going to tear it. That's a real tear. I'm going to tear it again. And you can see I'm actually tearing the card for real. This is not a fake tear.
That's pretty
There we go.
darn.
Yeah. See that? Now I'm going to put these pieces down for a moment. I'm going to come back to them. So with these two here, we're going to go back in time. Have you ever wished, Camille, that you had more time in life?
Yeah.
That you could just go back to the moment and relive it all over again, like that Universal Studios experience? I'm going to grab the other piece here.
Absolutely. Just being able to see my dad even. It's been a while.
To go back in time, almost like to repair the broken pieces, to repair the broken hearts of Americans around the world. We need healing, and I'm here to help put the pieces back together. And that's your card with your signature. No sticky tape.
Yeah. No. It's HD quality right there. I don't see any messes. Yeah, you could tell it was Ben. Oh, that's so neat.
Wow.
That's
You just need to put that in cream form.
yeah.
The wrinkle.
Exactly. There's no hiding from this camera. But this is your card, Camille. And if you where are you based out of? You're based in.
I'm actually in Cary, North Carolina.
Okay. All right. Well, if you send me your mailing address, whatever it is, I will mail this to you as my gift to you, as a souvenir of this experience, proving that we really can go back in time to Camille from your friend Shawn J. Signed card for you.
Yay, I'm famous. I collect autographs, so this is awesome.
Well, you are happy now. Today's your lucky day. You've just got another signature.
Another signature for Camille's collection of autographs. That's an amazing thing. Shawn, the one thing I've got to ask you is the cards, there's no problem with that because I've seen the card torn and recreated and things of that nature. Now, a couple times when you've done shows, you've also done it with money. And so I'm not gonna lie, I sometimes get concerned about that because I'm sitting there going like, wait a minute, will this dollar spend again after he fixes it? So what do you say to those folks that are worried when they see their coins or their dollars torn up and then it reappears?
As long as you're dealing with a professional, you should be okay.
Okay.
I'm a professional. I can't speak about anybody else that does anything close to that. But when you're working with me, when you're working with Shawn J, you're going to be okay. It's spendable.
Oh, so you're saying that there's a possibility that card turns into $100 bill?
If you put it underneath your pillow tonight and you wait long enough, you wake up tomorrow morning, guess what will happen?
Nothing. It'll still be a card.
Be there.
It'll still be there, or will it turn into a $100 bill?
I can guarantee that the card will still be there. And I can guarantee that if I had torn your money, that I could put it back together and it would be spendable. That's the answer to Marc's question.
Okay. That is a good thing. We're glad that it will be spendable and things of that nature. That is amazing. We have to have the money spendable and things of that nature. But Shawn, I'm just curious because I don't remember a lot of your tricks. Even you've been at Centerfest, a lot of them are the card tricks and the other kind of tricks. And you were teasing me earlier because I had the lion, and I'm going to pop the lion on here again just so Camille can see what I'm talking about. But do you ever do any tricks with animals? Do you ever do anything with pigeons? I know a lot of times magicians use those and other animals, but are you pretty much an illusionist that doesn't use the animals, or do you use the animals?
Oh, there it is. I'm waiting. How about that? I just changed into a lion. Look at that. I have not on a back. I have not performed with animals before. My show is completely vegan friendly. How's that?
Oh, that's good.
I had for 16 years a dog. I had a rat terrier, and a lot of times it's a little cute, really cute boy. People would ask me, "Oh, why don't you put him in the show?" And I always said, "No, he's not. I'm not here to make money off of him. He's my friend. He's my good friend." So no, I don't like using animals. And it's funny now. There's this whole thing with Tiger King, right?
What a psychopath! Sorry.
What? Just out of control, just bizarre. So yeah, no, I like to leave animals alone as much as possible.
I understand that. So what would be your greatest place that you would like to perform? Like I said, I know you've done New York, you've done Las Vegas, but if you could have a dream place to perform, like maybe Houdini's birthplace, but where would be the greatest place that you would like to perform?
Oh, I'd like to do a couple more TV shows before the world ends, like Ellen show or, Oprah or some big national daytime TV show would be lovely. I actually have that as a goal written on my wall. One of Magic Castle. It's funny. Right after the Masters of Illusion taping in January, I went to the Magic Castle for the first time ever in my life. One of the other magicians that was filming, he was a member there, and he said, "Have you ever been?" I said, "No." He said, "Oh, well, you can be my guest." And so it was like mid-January I went, and then shortly after, now they're closed for now. So I'm really thankful that I was able to go in and experience that. It was lovely.
Never been.
And Camille, what would be your dream job as an actress if you could have one? What's the dream job that you would love to have right now if you could? Maybe there's like a certain TV show or a certain producer that you would like to work with, but what is the dream job for you?
It's funny, before the pandemic, I would have said I would have loved to do like a kids show so my daughter and I could work together, like a fun, family friendly that actually promotes good images of women and girls and relationships as
That's rare.
To the parent being the dumb parent, how they do us. But now, because of I just don't know safely, I'm kind of a germphobe and she's high risk, that I'm loving what I'm doing. If I could just get picked up by a network, that would be awesome. So if I could just keep doing this, I love interviewing. Who knew? It's so much fun.
What I heard, the good news for you is, and me and a lot of other people, performers and entertainment, networks are starving for really good content right now because their production schedules got all screwed up because of this. So I believe maybe your chances will be greater of that becoming a reality. If you
Everything's
could,
crossed.
yeah,
She's got those fingers crossed, the toes crossed, everything else that you can have crossed is crossed so that that can happen. And I know the folks here at IBM TV are also creating shows on a regular basis. So I was talking to Ankin and some of the producers. So hopefully we can bring you in on here as well, Camille. And we definitely got to have you come back, Shawn, because you do all this great magic. So we might have to have you up here doing regular magic tricks on a regular basis whenever we can get you. So definitely, I know you're a very busy person, but I'll definitely have to talk to Kim and some of the other folks and see if we can't make that happen, that both of you can be part of our regular rotation of things that go on. So I know that that's what I'm pushing for, is trying to highlight some great talent, and I have tremendous respect for both of you. So definitely would love to see both of you do some more regular things.
Thank you.
Appreciate it, Marc. And it was really nice meeting you, Camille.
As well as with you, Shawn. This was a real treat. A nice way to wait. Is today Wednesday? A nice hump day.
Yes.
I'm so confused on the dates.
It's the middle of the week. There's no doubt about that. So yes.
Every day is another day with another blessing that I'm alive. I'm still here. I'm very grateful. Americans have a lot to be grateful for, because if you're talking about other countries and stuff, man, some of the things that I've seen going on in other countries, even prior to the pandemic, it's just pretty incredible. So we are lucky, although we're not in the most ideal situation right now. We are luckier than some. So I'm thankful.
That's very true. What advice would you give to folks, like even whether they're kids or whether they're like Camille's daughter age, or whether they're older folks that might be 60 or 70 that decide they want to go into their third or fourth career? Because I know Camille knows my dad, and dad has had about like 5 or 6 careers. I've lost track how many he's had, but he's had a number. So if the folks want to get into magic in one form or fashion or another, what advice would you give them if they want to get into magic?
If they wanted to get into magic, I recommend that they first have to make sure that that's a passion of theirs, because magic as an art form, like any other art form, anything, requires a lot of practice. It requires a lot of dedication, and it's not all fun and games. And what you see here is the tip of the iceberg, what goes on. Everything underneath, there's so many layers. So you really have to ask yourself the question first, do you really love it? Do you love what you do? Then the next step would be seek out other people that can help you learn. Now with the magic of technology, we can connect with anybody in the world at any time. So that's a nice thing. And the younger generation can take advantage of that. I mean, they already know how to if they're on Instagram and TikTok and Facebook. So I would say connect. Now is a good time to connect with your mentors or people that you want to connect with. Connect with people that inspire you, because that's what I did. Inspiration is huge, because sometimes you'll feel like you're stuck in a rut. And then if you see somebody else that's doing it and it's very successful, that'll inspire you to be just the same. So that's my suggestion.
And who are some of the magicians that you look up to now? I mean, of course, you look up to yourself because you're a master magician yourself, but who are some of the ones that are out there now that you look up to that are in the current market? I mean, like we mentioned some of the veterans like Hennon and Houdini, but I'm talking about in the current market. Who are some of the ones that you really are impressed by?
Oh, yeah. So a lot of people that I work with on the show. There's this guy, Rick Smith Jr. He's based out of Ohio. He's has multiple Guinness World Records for throwing playing cards the fastest and the farthest. He's an amazing magician as well, and he's been on all the shows that I would like to be on. And he's also a really good person, so he inspires me. He's a modern guy right now that's working. There's other people like, let me think. I'm inspired by some of the. There's a guy in Key West, Florida, who is a performer who's known, whose picture is on a lot of the pamphlets. And you ever seen or read anything about Key West? There's a guy walking on a tightrope with the sunset behind him.
I don't know that it's just for Key West, but I mean.
Well, yeah, in other places too.
I remember there was like a documentary not that long ago about a tightrope walker. So that's the image that's I'm thinking of. But
well, there's a guy in Key West, and he started the Sunset Celebration Festival years ago, and he's like, I think he's in his late 70s, I believe. Now he's almost 80, I think, and he's still doing what he loves. He's still walking the tightrope. He's still juggling. He's somebody that I'd like to aspire to be in as good a shape as him when I get to be that age. So I'm just thankful that I know him. He's a big inspiration to me. He's not a magician, but he's a performer. So he inspires me. Will Soto is his name.
Oh, wow.
Will Soto.
Well, I have to remember that name, Will Soto. So, Camille, what are some of the things that, along those same lines that I just asked him, what are some of those things that you would have in the acting career?
I'm trying to remember. It was inspirations. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
Exactly.
Well, I tell this story, and every time I do, it's kind of embarrassing, but I'll go ahead anyway. But one of the downsides to growing up overseas and just with going to a school in one language, a church in another language, and home, a little bit of both languages, sometimes things get lost in translation. So I misunderstood about praying, like that you're supposed to pray to the God, and I thought you could pick your own God. And I picked Diana Ross as my God because, I mean, she's the Supremes. So for probably about 9 years, maybe not that long, until I was about 9 or 10, I was praying to Diana Ross every night. Every prayer was always to her. And so I would still say she's an inspiration to me as far as being a mother, a performer, and just she's always carried herself in a very classy way. And just from seeing different interviews, the way she would talk about her children and just so inspired by them. And I just always looked up to her since being a kid and couldn't choose a better goddess to pray to. So she would be a dream.
What are some of the cautions that you would give kids or just adults in general? I mean, we're talking about the great things about entertainment. And of course, I love entertainment. I love culture. I love the things that the arts do. But what are some of the cautionary tales that either one of you would give folks that might be getting involved in the arts? Because we have to be realistic and say that there are some things that we are concerned about in the arts as well. So what are some of the cautionary things that you would let folks know about?
Well, I would say one good thing. Oh, do you need to go? Oh, okay. Sorry. I was going to say one of the things that I always think of cautionary tales, especially being a woman, is just being very careful, making sure that what you're getting involved with is not a scam. Most agencies do not ask for you to pay up front, so be wary of those. Be careful about contracts that you signed. Be careful what photographers you work with, because some may try to sell your images to other people. You just have to be very careful in that sense. Know as much as you can about the business side of entertainment as well. And don't just learn about acting or modeling, or I guess in his case, Magic, also learn about the business side, about contracts and residuals, how to get in the union. Like, learn as much as you can about the industry so you can protect yourself if someone happens to put you in an awkward position.
And what about you, Shawn?
Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Because there's this guy blowing leaves in the back, and I had to mute my mic. It was just like out of control. I didn't want it to like be interrupting Camille's words of wisdom there. But you can hear me. It's not.
No, we didn't hear it at all.
Didn't hear it at all.
Good, yeah. Good. Okay, good. So anyway, cautionary tale, words of wisdom. I would say, I think Camille said the great thing about, protecting yourself from being taken advantage of, especially as a young entertainer, performer, whatever. So learn about the business and learn about, get somebody to read over your contract, somebody that knows knows how to read contracts. If you don't, find somebody that does, because the contract is the most important thing. And here he comes again, blowing the leaves. You probably hear him.
Yeah, a little bit, but you're still the loudest.
You're still the loudest.
Good. It's always when I'm doing an interview, they do this. I swear, he's literally right there. Okay.
You're not the only one. I get it sometimes. I live in an apartment complex, and sometimes they decide to do the apartment maintenance at the time that I'm doing the podcast. So I know what you're going through. So
this
just
is
go through.
Real live stream. This is not pre-recorded. This is proof. This is not pre-recorded. So another really important tip that I want to say is, whatever industry that you're in, learn how to use technology. Learn how to use things like WordPress and learn how to work around a website, because that can help you in so many ways. And learn other skills that you can also piggyback onto your main skill. So like, for instance, when I'm not performing or creating magic, my other passion is 3D design and 3D printing and those things. So I actually create prototypes for my show that way. And the great thing about that skill is, if I wanted to, it doesn't even have to do with magic. It's a skill that can serve people in any industry. So think about how you can take your core skill and then what other meta skills can you stack on with that to make you a stronger person, a stronger performer in general. So.
And what did both of you say to the folks that say that you absolutely must have that infamous day job in order to make it in the arts, because they think that you don't necessarily can make it in the arts? I think that sometimes harms the artists, because they are sometimes put in a corner that they find the day job that sometimes pulls them away from their passion. That's just my thought, but I was wondering what y'all thought about that infamous day job. Can you make it in the arts or in performances without the quote unquote day job?
Camille, you want to go first?
Sure. Well, I always had multiple streams of income, because there are those times when you're not working and you need to have something else to keep you busy. So I worked in the spa industry, and I did makeup for print and film. I worked on Hustle and Flow as an example as a makeup artist. But like, find something. I mean, if you have another love or interest, pursue it as well. There's nothing that says you only have to pursue one thing. And I think it's very antiquated to think that you can only have one career, one job, one love, one passion. You can have multiples, and they can end up supporting your habit of being an entertainer, but also encouraging that confidence of knowing, I can work every day doing this as well if I need to help pay for the classes that are needed to do my real love or passion, whether it's entertainment or magic or whatever, or being a musician. But I do think your main focus does have to be whatever you love the most. But if you can't make a full-time living at that, you got to do something to help pay for it. So get a degree if you can. I mean, I got my.
And what would you say, Shawn?
Yeah.
Sure. So I agree with Camille. I used to not agree with Camille. So I mean, the pandemic has really caused a shift in thinking and changed my whole viewpoint on that. Like, so I believe that in the past I was very selfish, and I was I had an egotistical approach about it, because all I've ever done the only job I've had is a performer. Now, that being said, I know professional performers that have been doing this for 30 years that have had to get a regular job. And you know what? Good for them. I have a lot of respect for them. You know why? Because they really don't want to do that right now. It's something that they don't want to do. But the people that I know, they have a family, they have children, they have mouths to feed, they have a roof to put over their head. So to me, that's a sign of maturity. So at this point, my current stand is, yes, if you can make a full-time living doing your passion, go for it. Wonderful. If you can't, find something else to supplement it for a little while, and still do your passion as well. You can still find time for your passion. And like I said, the cool thing about my other passion with 3D design even ties back to originally, much like, did you say your mom, Camille, was also drawing, doing that type of art?
Yep, she's an artist.
Because that's before I even was in magic, I was doing drawing. I would do pencil drawings. And I did charcoal art and stuff. So what I'm saying is the other skills that you learn, you can always find a way to apply them to your main core skill. The 3D design skills that I have, if I wanted to, I could work for a product development company if I wanted to. In the corporate world, I could develop medical equipment if I wanted to. Is it something I want to do right now? No, but I like the skill set. And I can do whatever I want with that skill set, which is the cool thing. So let's say you're a violinist, but you're also really good with technology. You can figure out how to use WordPress, and you can make a website for yourself. And if you're not making enough income at the time as a violinist, you can use that meta skill to make websites for other people. why not, right? People always need a website. So I mean, that's what I'm saying. It's forcing people to think creatively, and there's nothing wrong with that. And if you have to find another source of income, by all means do so.
And how important do you think it is about education as well? Because I know sometimes, and this is for both Camille and Shawn as well, but sometimes folks want to go to college to get that degree in theater or that degree in whatever. And I think that sometimes some of the best performers I know didn't necessarily get the college training. So I was just wondering, do you think that it's vital to get that college training in magic or in the arts, or do you think it's better not to have that? So I'd like to hear from both of you how important you think the college version or the higher ed version of learning the trade is.
I'll bounce it back to Camille since I talked a lot prior. So go.
That's right. Well, I studied. I got my degree in sociology, but I could have very easily gotten my degree in dance and theater. But I wanted to have a marketable degree. I wanted to have something else because I knew from my family being in the entertainment industry, writer strikes can happen. So many other things can happen that can make it so you're not working and you need to have something else to be able to do. So that's why I did that. But on the flip side, my cousin, he went to Carnegie Mellon, he studied acting, and his career has skyrocketed. And it's not just because of the education that you receive when you go to a school that's known for acting, like Yale or in his case, Carnegie Mellon. You're going to make these connections that you may not make otherwise. So you'll get the opportunity to be in the same class with, I forget some of his class. Leslie Odom Jr. was one of his classmates, for example. You know, like you get to make and because you guys are all in there together, learning from each other, it's going to bring your game up to another level as well. Not everybody has access to that because that's like a $75,000 a year school. So there's different levels, of course. And I think it's very easy in the entertainment industry for you to work your way up if you're willing to put in the work, whether that means learning on set, starting as a background actor and just learning and getting information and taking the classes you can afford and getting books, libraries. And now like you're super lucky if you're interested in becoming an actor because there's so many great actors, casting directors, directors in general that are offering free Zooms on Instagram. You can look for them just all over the place. I mean, I go to at least one class a week, sometimes a day. So there's so many different opportunities to learn right now that can, but I do think that, I mean, you can't just be a pretty person. It definitely is a looks driven industry, but you have to have the talent too. So you definitely have to put in the work and the education one way or the other.
You know what were you going to say, Shawn?
I think it depends on the person. Because there are a certain percentage of people that are totally fine with going to college and they really enjoy it. They get a lot out of it. And like Camille said, it is true that you are opening up your network and you are being exposed to other people where you previously wouldn't be exposed to. Now, on the other side of the coin, I'll just speak from my own experience. I went to 2 years of community college myself. And I, due to my own life decision, decided not to continue. I actually, part of what drove my decision was I got carpal tunnel in both of my hands, actually. I'm spending too much time on the computer with just doing all the stuff that needed to be done on the computer. So I just took a step back and reevaluated my priorities. And for me, it's not for everybody, though. For me, I was okay with that. But I'm not saying that I'm forcing everybody else to follow that path. And I'm not saying, I don't think, like I said, it depends on the person. Mm-hmm. Some people love college. Some people get so much out of it. And other people, they're just kind of into their own path. And they almost do better that way because they don't feel as constrained. But it depends on the person. There's no one cookie cutter approach for the person. It's just that's my response.
No, that makes a lot of sense. I've got to tease Camille because I was actually thumbing through some of her YouTube stuff and everything because I was going to see whether I was going to pull up one or not, but I'm not going to do that to her since I didn't tell her that. But I saw that she's got a fear of something from one of her early shows that we won't say the name of the show, but she's got a fear of something that I also have a fear of as well. But magicians, I don't have a fear of. So I was just wondering, do you often find that, and there are bad movies of magicians, but I have the fear of clowns. I'm going to admit why. It was all it. It did it for me. It did it. After it, I couldn't do clowns. So, and I have friends that are professional clowns here in the area. So sounds like you, even though you're a magician, you also are in the fear of clown club.
It used to be a lot worse than it is because I actually met these clowns, like professional performing clowns, and I felt bad for them, like that I was afraid of them because most of them are they're really good people, and it's a shame, you know, that they get a bad rap, and it's just a shame. They're generally really.
It's creepy. The white makeup is the part that makes it creepy because I found out if they don't wear the white makeup, and it doesn't matter if it's a person or a picture, same amount of fear. But I think mine didn't come from it because I didn't know about it until after I was already scared of clowns. But I grew up in an area where people were collecting these porcelain clown satin doll things. And they would just be all over at different people's houses. And they were just really creepy. And so it stemmed from there. They were very creepy. And just like random velvet pictures of clowns would pop up at some people's houses. And I remember when my daughter, we took her to Gymboree for the first time, and I had no idea it was a clown-based gymnastics type place. I was like, I'll be on the edges. But we did not sign up. It was like a play date there, and you could sign up for classes. That was the last time I was there. So, yeah, and I saw it with her, the more recent one. I think we saw the Stephen King one too. Well, they're both Stephen King, but we saw the most recent one because I took her to Comic-Con, and one of the actors there from it was there, and she got to meet him. He was super nice. Chance, I don't remember his last name, but anywho, I told her if she got on stage and for the acting class that they were offering there, I would watch it with her because he said it's not that bad. It's very good. I mean, if she knows it's fake blood, it's not that bad. I was crying almost. I was so scared. Like, I was very grateful we did not go to the movie theater because I would have embarrassed myself. Like the whole movie was like this, or yelling or running, and yeah, I'm good. I don't like clowns. They're very scary and they're very creepy, but I do need to go because I have my show at 6. So
yeah, we're gonna let you get ready to get out here and we'll wind down everything else. But I did want to talk a little bit more with Shawn. But if you got to bounce, I understand, Camille. Okay. But the other question I was going to ask Shawn is, what is your thoughts on cosplay and everything? Because a lot of times that incorporates some magical elements, and I know it's very popular. So, what are your thoughts on cosplay? Just because I know it's very popular, and I was just wondering what your thoughts are, and because sometimes they do seem to incorporate some of the elements of magic. And that's the other thing I was going to ask you. What do you consider the elements of magic? Because I know there are elements of hip hop, and I've heard people talk about the elements of magic, and I'm sitting there going like, magic has elements? What are these elements?
I used to not like cosplay at all. I used to think it was kind of stupid, but now that I've actually explored a little bit with my 3D design and 3D printer, I have a lot of more respect for it. The cosplay industry there, they have some of the most talented costume designers, the most talented artists, the most talented, I mean, they're playing a role, so some of them are actors, and some of them are a little eccentric. Let's just put it that way. But I do find that there's a lot of talent too. So that's what I now think of the cosplay industry. I'm now getting inspiration from the cosplay industry for some of the magic that I'm working on. So, and the other question about the elements of magic, I'm not quite sure how to answer. I mean, magic has different elements in the sense that there's close-up magic, there's parlor magic, there's stage magic. Those are the different classifications of magic. But I don't know.
Yeah, that's what I was really looking for, is that for those that are watching that might be newer to knowing about magic, if you give us a little bit of the definition of the main 3 or the main 4 of those type, because like I said, you mentioned a couple. I have an idea of what you're talking about, but others that are watching may not have that kind of study and the idea. So you just give folks a little bit of an idea of what those styles are.
Well, I mean, there's also many elements of magic. I was just thinking, magic is one of the rare art forms that combines acting, it combines mime, it combines psychology, and many other disciplines into one. So you can say that those are some of the other elements of magic. And to answer the question about the main classifications, close-up magic is like what I showed you right here, with tearing up the card and putting it back together. Parlor magic is something like I showed you back over here, which can play to a larger audience, uses larger props. Stage magic is what you'd think of when you think of Siegfried and Roy and the big tigers on stage and David Copperfield, larger illusions. It's all illusions, but big boxes, large production to be seen by many, many people. Cool thing about this age now is doesn't matter, because a playing card can be as big as your 18-inch wide monitor now. If I were to hold this up, it'll fill up the entire screen.
Oh yeah.
Nobody has a problem seeing that. Same thing with a coin. It just doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So that's the cool thing about technology.
That's very cool. I'm convinced to this day that the reason that that some of those animals, and I know you said you don't do that, and I'm glad you don't, but I think that some of those animals were feeling upstaged. I think that that's what happened with Siegfried and Roy. I think the tiger was feeling upstaged.
I don't agree. I think that was a whole misunderstanding. I believe that I know for a fact Roy had an amazing connection with animals.
Right.
It was a very uncanny. Most people don't have that kind of connection. It's almost like a killer whale trainer kind of connection, where it's normally to most people would be a deadly animal that would just attack you and eat you alive. But we have to remember, I'll put out there for the record, that the tiger, it didn't viciously attack Roy. From what I understand, is Roy passed out due to having a minor stroke, and because him and the tiger had such a close connection, the tiger, much like a dog, knowing with instinct, the tiger knew that something was wrong with Roy. So the tiger was off in the wings, and he came out and he picked Roy up, much like a dog would pick up the cubs, and how lions and cats do it. They take their mouth and they on the back of the neck, and they come up and drag them off. So the tiger was that's how you pick somebody up. But of course, the tiger wasn't thinking that, my jaw produces hundreds of pounds of pressure and my teeth are very sharp and it's going to puncture and, seriously injure him. That's, I think, what really happened. I don't think the tiger did that intentionally. The tiger was trying to help, and it's just sad that it happened in that way.
Yeah, that is very sad. And I agree that I know a lot of times there is a deep connection between the magician and his props, no matter what the props are, particularly with the animals and things of that nature. But and I get why you might not want to do it, but I'm gonna get you to do a cat show one of these days and get a cat into your show. Shaw's looking at me like that's not happening.
Not
I'm
happening.
not gonna.
Never.
Shaw's like, not happening. We're not.
Actually, I am allergic to cats. I sneeze around cats, so.
So you're allergic to cats, so that can't happen. Well, maybe it'll be a dog at the trick, but you just are not having an animal whatsoever. So I can understand that, and I actually love the magic that you do. And like I said, you just have that warm reaction. Every time I've seen you, the kids and the adults are sitting there going like, does the show have to end? So even though there are other acts ahead of you or behind you, I do sometimes get the feeling that they're like, I don't want the show to end. I want Shawn to do the whole time until 7 or 8, or until we've actually got to leave the building.
That's right. Well, that's always leave them wanting more. That's the idea.
And I think that you do a great job of that. That's the one thing I've always been amazed by you, that you always leave them wanting more and things of that nature. I've talked about the magic, but in terms of like your own personal life and just things in general, what are the things that you would like to have just happen in your life? Are you looking to buy a house? Are you looking to have these life goals? But what are some of your life goals that you are looking to accomplish just in life in general?
I'd like to eventually live as minimalistically as possible. I'd like to eventually figure out a way to just get rid of most of what I own and be happy. Because they say in order to fly, you have to get rid of the weight, you have to get rid of the things weighing you down. So I think we have, in this world, we carry around a lot of things that just weigh us down. And we have a lot more material things than is really necessary. So I think if I could eventually pare it down, bare necessities, that would be nice. And I'd like to do some more national TV things and hit all my targets, and then be making so much money at that point I could be a philanthropist, and I could make up for the lack of philanthropy that Jeff Bezos is doing or not
Yeah,
doing with his
not
billions
good.
of dollars, that he could be solving a lot of the problems that are happening right now. That's my only little statement that I'll slip in. I think everybody can agree with me on that one.
No, I think that people can agree with you on that one. There's another
Regardless of
guy
who
that we probably could add that same list to that, you know, owns a certain vehicle and keeps going up to Mars and other places. So we probably could add his name to the
sure,
list as well of folks that
sure.
aren't doing necessarily enough in that category. It's interesting that you mentioned the minimalist life because I actually have a friend of mine that is a practitioner of that to some degree, and some other friends that have considered that. I'm living in an apartment, so it might be halfway minimalist, but it's not quite total minimalist. But definitely, I've known folks that have done that and things of that nature. And my brother was actually joking. We had a sad occasion that we had to deal with on Monday, and while we were talking about that, my brother was talking about how I have two nephews, and he doesn't want to make them disappear. He loves my nephews. I love them as well. We all love them, but he is saying that he might want to get a tiny house. And I was telling him, I was like, "So you're gonna move the tiny house outside of the family of your house?" He's like, "No, the tiny house needs to be in front of the house so I can see the boys. I just don't want them here, and they need to live in the tiny house." So he's going for the tiny house for them to live in.
Tiny house is a good thing if you can make it work. Why not? It's less house to deal with. Not for everybody, but I've heard a lot of people like it. A lot of people do like it.
I've heard a lot of people like it as well, and it depends on where you want to do. Like I've got other friends that do some really daredevil kind of things, and they've tried to talk me into it. It's not happening. Like I've got a couple of friends that are talking about like you should try skydiving. I'm like, nope, I'm perfectly fine with being here and not falling out of the plane. So I think Earth is a good enough place. I'm not trying to fall out of a perfectly good plane that can get me from point A to point B and possibly land on the ground and come up in pieces. So I'm good with not skydiving. So and the same with snorkeling and some of the other things. So are there any daredevil traits that you have? So sometimes magicians are known as being really adventuristic. So are there any daredevil traits that you would like to try? Maybe you're a skier, maybe you're a one of those folks that are daredevil in task.
I wouldn't mind skydiving once one day. But you know what they say: if at first you don't succeed, then skydiving isn't for you. So you got to make sure you hit the mark. You got to, maybe I should go up there. I should have Tom Cruise with me, like James Corden did. He did a skydiving thing with Tom Cruise. I've never done it, but I thought, I'm not saying I'm not scared of it, but I think it's might be interesting just to say I did it one time in my life. I've been snorkeling. That was nice. It was shallow snorkeling. That was fun. I'm generally not a crazy out of control kind of person. I'm pretty mellow. So, but maybe I could say one time in my life I could tell my grandchildren I jumped out of a plane and I survived.
So you can do that when you're 78. You can be like, I've jumped out of that plane. I landed. I'm still here. Everything's good. So things of that nature. We were talking about the clowns and the It movie. What are some of the movies that you have liked as a magician? Because I know there have been movies that had a magic theme. So I was just wondering, is there any movie or any plays that you like that fit in that magic theme? And what about it was it that you enjoyed? Because I know there have been movies with a magic theme.
I got a great example. It's not a magic theme, but it's magical. And yeah, Catch Me If You Can, with Leo DiCaprio, who played the part of Frank Abagnale, who's the con artist who conned his way into being a Pan Am pilot, conned his way into being a doctor, conned his way into doing a lot of things. And he used some techniques used by magicians, but he was, of course, using them to manipulate people to lie, steal, and cheat, which is not things that I do. I use all of those techniques to entertain people for fun. But I thought the movie was fascinating, and it turns out I ended up meeting the guy because the real Frank Abagnale actually did a lecture in Chapel Hill a couple years ago for AARP. And I was like, I got to meet this guy. So I showed up and I met him and I did some magic for him. And that was surreal. That was incredible. Catch Me If You Can. It's just a great movie, too. It's a fun movie.
Wow, sounds like it. It sounds like an amazing movie. I definitely have to catch that. Now, the other thing that I know magicians are not fans of the fact that it is sometimes compared to them. But the only other thing that I know about magic that sometimes people try to compare it to is the old Westerns. And you actually mentioned the charlatans and some, not the charlatans, but some of the ways that it is tied into philosophy and things of that nature. And in that same history, in the early history, there was like the medicine man, and I think he might have involved some magical kind of tricks and things of that nature. So can you talk to our listeners about how that came about and how you as magicians try to show that that is not what true magic is? Because I do know that they did try to incorporate some of that in their stuff, both them as well as some of our, I would even argue some of our televangelists try to use some magic tricks, but definitely the early medicine man did.
Yeah. So I didn't quite understand the question. What about?
I was just talking about the magic and the history of magic with some of the early history, like with the medicine man and some of the early televangelists.
I'm still here. I'm just doing some maintenance since my camera needs to actually get another battery. Hold on one second. Yeah. So what about? I think that there we go. Magic can be used for good and bad, and some people do use. I know. Look up Peter Popoff.
Okay.
Look him up. It's hilarious. It's hilarious. It's a televangelist. I'm not saying anything about any particular religion. I'm just saying that some televangelists, it's just so silly. It's beyond belief. He was exposed for famously using radio equipment, hidden earpieces. His wife would collect all the prayer cards, and he, of course, never saw them. And his wife actually was telling him information via radio frequency about, oh, you want to pick so-and-so in the front row. She's got kidney failure and this and that, and so talk about that. Oh, it's just so hilarious. There was a guy that went into a church service and exposed him by using a radio receiver and picked up the signal, and he could hear his wife giving him all the info. It's just sad. And he was making a lot of money off those poor people. That's the sad thing.
Yeah, that is very sad, and that's just insane that they would do things like that. But I definitely can see that some people don't want to use magic for what it should be used for, which is, like you said earlier, trying to uplift people and give them good vibes and things of that nature. Because that's what to me, magic should be all about, is creating those positive, good vibes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Magic transforms the way people think, the way people feel, instantly.
Yep, definitely. So tell folks your website, and we'll get ready to wrap up, but tell folks the website and how they can find you, and also any upcoming virtual shows that you may have, particularly if there are any that are public, because I know we talked about some that are corporate, so of course they can't necessarily see those because they're probably in a platform that is only for whatever the corporation is. But definitely if you can share with us where the website is, how folks can reach you, and any upcoming shows that you might have.
Sure. So I just dropped in the chat my website, which is ShawnJMagic.com. And if you just type in my name the way it's spelled down here,
right,
Shawn J and then the word magic.com, you'll find me. And you can learn about the different things that I do, the different types of performances that I offer, and how I can help make your next virtual event a magical success. Things right now, I've been, the public way to find me is on Instagram. Just if you follow me on Instagram at Shawn J Magic, I do public just for my fans. Okay. So follow me there. You'll know when I'll be doing my latest live, and I'm going to try to get. I'm going to try to do a live upcoming soon with my friend Rick Smith Jr., who I really think a lot of. He's incredible. So if you're listening, check out Rick Smith Jr. He was just on. If you guys know about YouTube channels, there's a channel called Dude Perfect. It has millions upon millions of subscribers, and it's like a trick shot channel. And they have and there's also a guy, the Trick Shot Cop,
okay,
who Rick has worked with. Rick just did a video with Dude Perfect. It has millions of views now, and he's doing really well. So I'm going to try to do a live with him soon.
Cool. Have you done anything with Joshua? Because I know Joshua is here in the areas too. And when I think of magicians in the area, I think of the two of you. And then I can't think, there are probably others as well, but it's probably pretty much Shawn J and Joshua Lossoff when I think of people here in the Triangle area, because we're in the Triangle area of North Carolina. So have you done any work at all with Joshua? Because I know some family friends of mine that are friends of his and vice versa. So I was just wondering if you've ever done any work with him.
I haven't, but now that this is a virtual platform here, it might make it a little bit easier to do so. I know both of us have our own version of our show that we do, and he is a fantastic, amazing magician in his own right. He has his own performance style, and he comes from the background of being an actor, doing shows like Cheers and things in the past. And he's a really cool guy. So there'll probably be a point that he'll do his show X amount of times, and he has a wonderful fan base and following. He may want to change it up because he might run out of material, and vice versa with me. That's kind of how it works. You know, sometimes we do our show, and it's the same people want to keep coming back, and they go, well, are we going to see the same show or a different show? And then that's when guests can kind of collaborate. I've seen it done in the virtual.
Sure.
So maybe we'll do something like that. I don't know, but I haven't yet. No, but he's a wonderful magician and a wonderful person.
Well, we'll have to get y'all connected in some kind of way and things of that nature. Two quick questions that will wrap everything up. But the first question is, in the corporate world, when you've done the corporate shows, has there been any time that a corporation was surprised in either a good way or a unpleasant way by the show, or they weren't prepared for the show? So I know corporations can be very interesting. I know folks that are always trying to break into the corporate end of entertainment, and corporate entertainment is totally different than any other kind of entertainment. I actually made the mistake one time of trying to book somebody for a corporate event, and this was years ago, decades ago. I made the mistake of not doing enough homework. Whatever you do, and I know you'll agree with this too, do your homework. So they wanted to do a fundraiser. It was my friend Maurice Spencer. He was doing like some bone marrow kind of stuff or something of that nature, and they were doing a family event, and it was like a fundraiser event, and they asked me to help find the entertainment. So I found this some entertainment, and like I said, I would not do it at this age because I'm smarter, but I gave them like the Rags to Riches theater group, which is, you know, is a children's theater group. So wasn't necessarily the crowd for an adult crowd, because, you know, they was looking for something a little bit more adult oriented, not necessarily folks dressed in, you know, outfits that are more kid oriented and things of that nature. So like I said, that was probably some 25, 30 years ago, but I do remember making that bad mistake of not doing enough research. So I was wondering if you've ever had any corporate shows that turned out as bad as that, or that turned out not to be what they were expecting when you came in and did your magic.
Thankfully, I haven't had like horror stories. I've only had times where maybe it has been awkward because the group I was performing for was so uptight in general. That is, I've had that a couple times, you know, and it's interesting because like they won't be like freaking out and jumping up and down and running out of the room, but they're really quiet. And then after the fact, I think that, oh man, I didn't do my job. I didn't do a great show. But then afterwards, the client will call me and say, man, I just wanted to thank you for a real job well done. And I was like, really? I could barely tell. Nobody seemed to care. That's what I was thinking in my mind. But yeah, I had that recently, actually. I was doing some magic, and everybody was just like, but then the client was happy, and I said, did everybody else like it? And they said, oh yeah, they were talking a lot after you left. I said, okay, I guess they're just not good at expressing that in the moment, because I had no idea. So that you will get on occasion with that kind of group. And usually I like it when there's alcohol present, because the more they drink, the more they'll turn back into normal people. Whereas, you know, like if you have a normal person that drinks a lot, sometimes they'll just get out of control. But the people who are real uptight, once they get to that happy hour, they start kind of okay, and they start acting like what I'm used to. So
yeah, I've actually said two more questions, but I go slip in one more, and then I'll get your wrap up thoughts and everything. But have you done a cruise show? Because I do know some folks that have definitely gone on cruises, love cruises, and I know that sometimes whether it's the dueling piano or whether it's the stage shows, that a lot of times the cruises depend on entertainment. And I actually think the only cruise I've been on, there was a magician. He was actually a pretty good magician, and I don't remember his name, but he was on that cruise ship. So have you done any cruise shows, and what was that experience like for you?
Thanks for brightening my day, Marc. You always bring out the best in people. So this is funny. This is my story that I've told many, many times. funny and sad at the same time. So for years and years and years, that's been one of my goals. And as of December of last year, it became a reality in the sense that I caught the eye of a cruise agent and was picked up, and we were really excited about working with each other. And he said, give it a couple months to get the momentum going and we'll start things. And I said, okay, so I'm doing my own thing. I get a call, March 4th, I believe. It's like, yes. And he's like, yeah, we want you. I think it's going to be Princess Cruise Lines.
Wow.
So, we got to have you sign the contract and this and that and the other. And then the following week, which is mid-March, the magic month of mid-March, and I see all this stuff about Princess Cruises all over the news. They had the highest rate of contamination for the coronavirus at that time, although all of the lines are doing everything they can. And I've heard now they're almost among the cleanest places to be because they're just like, never want that to happen again. So that was going to be my intro into the cruise ship world. And I actually canceled because I didn't feel comfortable. Mm-hmm. And that initially didn't go over well. That's the truth. But the next day, after I made the decision to cancel, I said, I never cancel. But this is just, if it's a life or death situation here, I just don't feel comfortable. I don't think this is right. The CEO of Princess Cruise Lines put it out all over social media. We're sorry, but we're stopping all operations. So I sent that and I was like, you think I'm right? I think so. So then everybody was like, yeah, we're sorry we got upset, but we think that is the right decision. I said, I would have, had the coronavirus not been an issue, I would have been 200% yes. I was ready to roll. I was so happy. But
I'm hoping to go back on another cruise. Like I said, that was my first time going on a cruise, thoroughly enjoyed it. I'm not gonna lie, there was a certain part of cruising that I was not prepared for. One is that I love meeting people, and that's part of the reason I love doing this show and having a chance to talk to folks like you and others. And but I don't necessarily always want to go to the tourist stops, and that's what you have on cruise ships. So I would probably be the one that would get lost. I didn't do it on my one cruise, but I would be trying to find the authentic part of whatever the country was that I'm visiting. And the other thing that took me a while to get adjusted to is, and I think all performers have to do it, and I get it. Like I said, my dad is an artist. I've got friends that are artists, comedians, magicians, all kinds of folks in the art world. So I get it. But art salesmen on cruise ships can be some of the most aggressive salespeople that you ever wanted to see, them and the photographers, because they're always right there in your face going like, look, you need to take a picture with us. You need to do this. You need to buy that. You need to buy whoever the latest popular artist is and things of that nature. So that did take a while to get used to their aggressive nature. And the food people were also maybe a little aggressive too, but it was great food, so I could handle that. But definitely some of the other elements, it took a minute to get used to.
Yeah.
But it was a fascinating trip. And like I said, I hope to go on some more. That was my one and only cruise so far, but I haven't done enough world travel either. Like I said, I went to Turkey when I was a baby, and I haven't been, well, I guess technically the cruise was out of the country because we did go to Grand Turks, which is partially owned by the United States and partially owned by another country, and I don't remember which one it is. I think it might be Britain. So that would be technically a foreign area. But other than that, we were in Puerto Rico, which is an American territory, and we were in the U.S. Virgin Islands. So, and I think the fourth trip that we were going to that we didn't make it to was, all these cruises also own their own little islands, which I think is so cool that they have their own little islands. But the weather acted up, so we didn't get a chance to make it to that part, me and the friend that I went with. But definitely it's on my wish list to try to get some cruising in again and to get to those kind of trips, and definitely do some more international travel. And who knows, maybe I'll see you performing there in one of those cruises, or maybe, I've got some dreams of my own. I would love to do some event planning for big events, like, do something at the Super Bowl, do something at the NBA. So maybe I'll do that and bring you in for that. So I've got some big dreams. So I'll definitely try to plug you into whatever we do. But as we wrap up everything, what are some of your thoughts of positive nature that you would like to give? And I loved having you on here. You were such a great guest along with Camille, but just share some words of wisdom that you would like to share with our guests, with our listeners, just in general. And it can be just about the world. It doesn't have to be anything specific to you, but just words of wisdom that you would like to share to our listeners. And like I said, they are global. We've got listeners from all over. I know that Angit is in India, and we like to joke that he's got billions of followers just in among the folks that come because of him, because he's from India and they got billions of folks over there.
Yeah. Words of wisdom, huh? From me. Who am I? Who am I to give any words of wisdom? I'm no expert, but I'll just tell you, just based on my 29 short years on the earth, I would say that I'm going to echo one of my favorite people, Bruce Lee. A lot of people have problems because of an emotional response to everything. So a lot of people can simplify their lives by just minimizing the emotional response that they have. And controlling your emotions is it's power. It gives you a lot of power, because once you lose control of your emotions, then you lose control altogether. And that little part in your brain, the amygdala, kicks in, and then you just start acting irrational. Then you black out, you forget things, you forget where you put your keys, you forget what you were doing. So that's something that I try to work on every day. I used to be really bad about it, and most people just go through their entire life, they don't even think about stuff like this. But I think it's important, especially now when we have so many things that are happening that are out of our control. That's what this is teaching me, and anybody who wants to be smart about this should look at this pandemic as an experience, as a way to test our abilities to control our response to things out of our control. And control, I keep saying control what we can control. No, we realize there's a certain percentage of things out of our control, a certain percentage of things that are in our control. What we can control is our response and what we do with all this extra time. And that's why I wrote a piece around time and time travel. And that, I didn't even do it here, but I have another piece where I talk about that. What are we doing? I mean, a lot of people have been given the gift, the blessing of all this extra time. What are you doing? Are you just sitting watching Netflix, or are you actually making those connections with family? Are you learning a new skill set, like what I'm working on now? And make good use of this time, because you might not ever have this time like this again. That's my advice.
That's some very powerful advice, and it's actually interesting that you said that, because a friend of mine that does a similar type of show is Sri Navasan, and he does a COVID talk on a daily basis. He also does the read along with the New York Times, and he's been doing that ever since the lockdown started in New York. He's a New York-based digital media person and PR person, but that's what he's talked about on his show, is making that time, like you're saying, to make that time to learn a new skill. We've all got this time on our hand. It's a time that you can actually go take a class, maybe a class in media marketing or digital marketing, or a class, as I did. I took a class on contact tracing and how to learn that skill. But there's all these different kind of courses that you can learn that you might not have had the time to do before. And then we've got folks that are looking on us, and they've actually, I see one is making a comment to us, because I just was reading our folks, and we did have one that made a comment, and apparently they've got too much time on their hand because they want us to become famous. I mean, I think you're already working on it, and they want us to buy followers and views and things of that nature. So they're trying to tell us how to do that, but folks will see that in the lineups and everything. They go back and read, but they're trying to tell us that they shouldn't want us to follow them because they've got the solution, because everybody's got all these automatic solutions and everything. So sometimes you have to be careful of what folks put in there.
It's probably a bot dating your chat. There's a lot of that, more so now than ever.
Yep.
But hey,
would not surprise me. I know my friend Mona has had trolls popping into her conversations, and she is a comedian. She does get a little political in her stuff, but Mona Sheikh does some stuff around, mostly around comedy and around her society that she's from, which is like Pakistan, India, and stuff like that. But I know a couple of times the trolls have come in and had whole conversations. Sri has had the trolls pop in, so definitely we do know that the trolls are having way too much fun too. So we got to find the magician to make the trolls disappear.
It's just pixels on a screen. Doesn't matter to me.
Exactly. Well, I do want to thank you for being on the show, and I hope that you can come back in the near future and come back and treat us to some more magic. You were a great guest, and like I said, I'm going to miss you being at Centerfest. I do know they're doing a virtual version of it. I've been in touch with Kirk, and I do know they're going to have different elements. I don't know where the whole the elements that have been in the past, which is kind of like the specialty acts, meaning like the magician, which you do, as well as the I think there was a Stillwalker and there was a couple of others that had followed around at Centerfest in years past in other Centerfest. So I have not heard from the powers that be where they're doing with the quote unquote specialty acts, but I know they're definitely lining up the the musicians and the dancers. So hopefully they will not leave out the specialty acts, because I think that y'all are a tremendous part of any show, whether it's your magic at Centerfest or whether it's my friends at Paper Hand that do some great puppetry doing the Eno, and they did incorporate them at the virtual Eno. So I'm hoping that the powers that be, and I will put my vote in, that they incorporate you in Centerfest, and definitely I will try to see what other places we can find some gigs for Shawn J that around the world. Who knows? Ankit might decide to book you over there in India whenever this thing stops, and we can get you over there to India, or Ben, who's one of the guys that pops in, who's in England, or Willie Hill, who's in Australia. Maybe they can find ways to bring you into their respective areas. So hopefully we can find some folks.
I could be right there at any time now with this virtual platform. I could magically appear in the middle of their meeting and spice things up, kick off the meeting, great bookend to the meeting. It's a great thing, especially for like virtual networking events. I mean, especially like if you have a company and you're trying to open up conversations, you have a bunch of people that don't know each other, and they're wondering, what am I going to say? Well, this is the perfect thing. I can tell you that, because everybody, again, shares the same experience. And then when I disappear, the first thing that people say is, wow, how did you do that? And then, oh, so what do you do? So, yeah, I can appear anywhere in the world now, thanks to the magic of technology.
And it's a wonderful magic. Thanks once again for being on the show. And like I said, I'm going to be airing a replay of an interview we did with King Wojak as part of the online dinner party with Marc Lee. He is a rapper out of Tacoma, Washington. So that'll be what we'll close to wrap up the rest of this particular 3-hour block. But definitely, he has definitely got some great skills. And I think folks will be enthralled by some of the things that he said and that he was involved in. So definitely stick around and listen to that. And like I said, definitely hoping to get Shawn on some of our various other platforms. And definitely, he never can tell. He might get a LinkedIn message or another message saying, hey, Shawn, what are you doing? Nothing? Pop in. So he might get a call to pop in when he can. I know he's got all kinds of other things going on. So I don't expect he'll pop in all the time, but every once in a while, he may decide to pop in on the IBM TV platform and bless us with his many talents and show us what he's all about, even maybe find ways to break up the monotony of some of our conversations. Because sometimes we crack jokes on each other and things of that nature. One of the things that we were doing the last couple of episodes of just our roundtables, which we do during the course of our regular shows in the afternoon, is we were looking at castles and pretending that we were going there, because we were saying that it's the pandemic and we were trying to figure out where we could book in order to have our IBM meeting, and we were looking at all kinds of castles and other fancy places. And ironically, Shawn, some of those places had some tremendous deals. I think there was like a castle that was going in one of the foreign countries for like $58. So nothing like our prices, but there were some tremendous prices that were great.
They need tourists. They're hurting.
They definitely need that. So once again, thank Shawn and Camille for being on, and we look forward to seeing them again in the near future. Once again, it's the online dinner party with Marc Lee, and we're going to switch on to an episode with none other than Mr. Wojak, but I'm going to bounce out of here and end this broadcast and bring y'all the other broadcast. So if y'all hold on a second, that'll be getting ready to come up in a matter of a minute. Of course, I've got to mess with Shawn just for 1 second and pop in the tiger or the lion. I guess that was a lion, because he just seems to have great reactions to the lion. So there we go. There's the lion once again. There's the lion. He's trying to make the lion disappear. The lion does not want to cooperate. Oh, there he goes. He's trying to make the lion disappear. Oh, now he's trying to do the whole Olay thing that they do in the Matador. Or maybe he likes this lion better. I think this lion does better for Shawn. Oh, there's the other lion. Yep, Shawn is having way too much help. I'm sorry, Shawn. This lion is not. See, that's why you don't like doing animals. The lions and the animals don't want to cooperate. So they just don't want to cooperate. So That's why he does not do the animals. They just don't want to cooperate at all. So one more time before I wrap everything up, and we've already pretty much wrapped it up, but I need you to see that in a rap pose one more time before we get ready to bring Shawn, King Mojago. Yep, there he goes. There's Shawn with his rap pose.
Word on the street. This is Shawn J with Shawn J Magic. Thank you so much, Mark Lee. Now I'm going to make myself disappear. In 3,
Understood. Go
2,
ahead and disappear. Cool.